This morning, an email with no sender appeared in our channel's inbox. The subject line simply read, "Only 48 hours." Inside, there was a voice message and a letter signed by a 12-year-old girl, Addison. The content is so disturbing that we hesitated before making it public. But what Addison describes cannot remain hidden. This is her message, exactly as we received it. "My name is Addison, and I'm 12 years old. I never believed that kids like me could see heaven or talk to Jesus. I thought those stories were just for grown-ups or people in the Bible. But everything changed when I died 3 days ago, right in front of my school. And what Jesus showed me about the next 48 hours will change everything you think you know about reality. I have to tell you what I saw before it's too late." It was a normal Tuesday morning. My mom had dropped me off at school like she always does, reminding me to have a good day and telling me she loved me. I grabbed my backpack, said goodbye, and started walking across the parking lot toward the main entrance. Other kids were around me, talking and laughing, their voices mixing with the sound of car engines and school bells ringing in the distance. I remember looking up at the sky and noticing how blue it was. Not a single cloud anywhere, just pure, endless blue that seemed to go on forever. I never saw the car coming. One moment I was walking, thinking about my math test and hoping I'd studied enough, and the next moment there was a horrible screeching sound, like metal screaming against concrete. The impact threw me into the air, and I felt this strange sensation, like being lifted by invisible hands. There was no pain at first, just confusion and a weird floating feeling that made everything seem like it was happening in slow motion. Then I was above everything, looking down at my own body lying on the pavement. I could see my backpack a few feet away, my books scattered across the ground. Students were screaming, and teachers were running toward me. Someone was calling 911, their voice panicked and shaking. I tried to tell them I was okay, that I was right there above them, but no sound came out. That's when I realized something impossible was happening. I was dead, but I was also more alive than I'd ever been in my entire life. The parking lot started to fade away, like someone was turning down the volume on the whole world. Everything became quieter and dimmer, until there was nothing but this incredible light surrounding me. It wasn't like sunlight or lamplight or anything I'd ever seen before. This light was alive somehow, pulsing with warmth and love so intense it made me want to cry and laugh at the same time. I felt completely safe, more protected than I'd ever felt in my mom's arms or my dad's hugs or wrapped up in my favorite blanket on cold nights. Suddenly, I was standing in a place that I can't really describe with normal words. The ground beneath my feet looked like it was made of crystals that glowed from the inside, and the air itself seemed to sing with music I'd never heard before. Colors existed there that don't exist on Earth. Shades and hues that my eyes couldn't have seen when I was alive, but now made perfect sense. Everything was more real than real, more solid and true than anything I'd touched in my 12 years of life. That's when I saw him walking toward me through the light. I knew immediately it was Jesus, even though he looked different from the pictures in my Sunday school classroom. His face was filled with so much love that I fell to my knees without thinking about it. His eyes held entire galaxies inside them, swirling with knowledge and compassion and power that made me understand how small I was and how infinite he is. But he didn't make me feel afraid. Instead, he reached down and lifted me to my feet with hands that had scars on them, scars that glowed with golden light. "Addison," he said, and hearing my name spoken by him made every cell in my spiritual body vibrate with recognition. "You have seen 12 years of life on Earth, but I'm going to show you what is coming in the next 48 hours, because children like you must warn the world. Adults have stopped listening to me, but they will listen to the voice of a child." He gestured with his hand, and suddenly the space in front of us opened up like a window, and I could see the entire Earth spinning slowly in the darkness of space. But something was different about it. Streams of golden light were rising from different places all over the planet, connecting together like a beautiful web of prayer and hope. "These are the prayers of my faithful ones," Jesus explained, his voice gentle but strong enough to make mountains move. "They have been crying out for revival, for awakening, for me to move in power again. And their prayers have filled the bowls in heaven to overflowing. The time has come for me to answer them in ways that will shake every foundation humanity has built on lies." As I watched, the streams of light grew brighter and more numerous. I could see them coming from little churches in small towns, from hospital rooms where sick people were praying, from homes where families knelt together, from prison cells where believers called out to God in desperation. Each prayer was like a golden thread being woven into something bigger, something so beautiful it made me want to cry. "But Jesus," I asked, my voice barely a whisper, "what's going to happen? What do you want me to tell people?" His expression became very serious, and the light around us seemed to pulse with urgency. "In 48 hours, the spiritual realm will tear open and become visible to human eyes. Angels will appear to everyone, believer and unbeliever alike. The veil between heaven and earth will be pulled back, and humanity will have to choose whether to accept what they see or deny it. This is the beginning of the greatest spiritual awakening the world has ever witnessed, but it is also the beginning of the greatest division." He waved his hand again, and I saw millions of people all over the world suddenly stopping whatever they were doing. In offices and schools, on streets and in homes, people were looking up with expressions of shock and wonder on their faces. Then I saw them. Angels. But these weren't the cute baby angels from Valentine's Day cards or the gentle ones from Christmas pageants. These were massive warrior beings with wings that stretched across entire city blocks. Their faces blazed with fire, and their presence was so powerful that buildings shook when they appeared. They were beautiful and terrifying all at the same time. "The angels will speak," Jesus continued, "and everyone will hear them in their own language simultaneously. They will proclaim that the kingdom of heaven is at hand, that the time of choosing has come, that humanity must decide now whether to serve light or darkness, because the middle ground is disappearing forever." I could hear the angels' voices echoing across the earth like thunder that spoke words. "Prepare the way of the Lord. Make straight his paths. The King is coming, and his reward is with him. Choose this day whom you will serve, for the door of mercy will not remain open much longer." I watched what happened next with my mouth hanging open. In some places, massive revivals broke out immediately. People who had never prayed in their lives were falling to their knees, crying out for Jesus to save them. Atheists who had spent years mocking believers were weeping as they encountered the undeniable reality of God. Drug addicts were instantly set free from their addictions. Sick people were healed right where they stood. Families that hadn't spoken in years were hugging and asking each other for forgiveness. The love of God was pouring down like rain, washing away pain and hurt and all the things that had kept people trapped in darkness. "This is what I have been preparing for," Jesus said, and I could see joy radiating from his entire being. The greatest harvest of souls in human history will begin in 48 hours. More people will come to know me in the following weeks than have come to me in the last 100 years combined. But then his face grew sad, and the light dimmed just a little. Not everyone will receive this visitation with joy. Many will harden their hearts even when they see undeniable proof standing right in front of them. They will try to explain away the angels, to rationalize the supernatural, to convince themselves that what they're seeing isn't real. I watched as news reporters and scientists scrambled to provide explanations for the angelic appearances. Some said it was mass hallucination caused by chemicals in the atmosphere. Others claimed it was holograms created by hackers or foreign governments. The very people who should have been helping others understand the truth were instead building walls of denial, choosing their own explanations over the obvious reality staring them in the face. The religious world will split in half, Jesus said with deep sadness in his voice. Some church leaders will embrace this move of my Spirit and lead their people into the greatest revival they've ever experienced. But other leaders will reject it because it doesn't match their theology or their programs or their comfortable way of doing things. They will tell their congregations that these angels are demons in disguise, that this revival is false, that people should be careful and cautious instead of running toward me with open hearts. I saw churches dividing right down the middle. Some pastors were weeping with joy and leading their people into powerful encounters with God. Others were shutting their doors and warning people to stay away from the supernatural manifestations. It broke my heart to watch people who claimed to love Jesus rejecting his very presence because it came in a way they didn't expect or control. But the children and teenagers will see clearly, Jesus said, his face brightening again. Young hearts that haven't been hardened by cynicism and religious tradition will recognize my voice immediately. They will become mighty warriors in this end-time army, leading the way with faith that puts their elders to shame. I witnessed something that made hope explode in my chest. Kids my age and even younger were seeing the angels more clearly than anyone else. We were prophesying and praying for sick people and sharing the gospel with boldness that amazed the adults around us. Teenagers were leading prayer meetings in their schools, and children were performing miracles that doctors couldn't explain. The young generation was rising up with spiritual power that commanded respect, even from people 3 times our age. From the moment the angels appear, the supernatural will become normal, Jesus explained. Miracles that once required great faith will happen regularly. Dead people will be raised in hospitals and funeral homes. Blind eyes will open, deaf ears will hear, and paralyzed people will walk. But more than physical healing, hearts will be transformed at rates that seem impossible. Addictions will be broken instantly. Marriages will be restored overnight. Prodigal children will come home. Enemies will become friends. The power of my love will do in moments what the therapy and programs couldn't do in years. I watched believers laying hands on sick people and watching them recover right then and there. I saw people in morgues suddenly sitting up and breathing again, their families weeping with joy and confusion and overwhelming gratitude. The blind received sight, the deaf heard music for the first time, and the lame jumped up from wheelchairs and danced. But even more beautiful than the physical miracles were the changed hearts. I saw people who had been consumed by hatred suddenly filled with love. Men who had been violent their whole lives became gentle and kind. Women trapped in fear found courage they never knew existed. But this awakening will come with a cost, Jesus warned, his tone becoming very serious. Those who embrace it will face persecution from both religious people and government authorities. Many believers will be arrested for healing the sick in public places. Pastors will be removed from their churches for preaching with supernatural power. Young people will be expelled from schools for refusing to deny what they've seen. Some will lose their jobs, their families, their homes. And some will face violence from those who hate the light. I saw believers being arrested in large numbers. Churches were raided by police. Pastors were dragged away in handcuffs. Families were separated because they wouldn't stop talking about Jesus and the angels. Yet even in prison, miracles kept happening. Prison doors opened by themselves. Guards were converted through supernatural encounters. Entire jails became centers of revival. My angels will protect those who are truly mine, Jesus declared with absolute authority. No weapon formed against them will prosper. When they are thrown into fires, they will walk out unburned. When they are given poison, it will have no effect. When they are attacked, I will make them invisible to their enemies. The same power that protected Daniel and the Hebrew children will shield my end-time army. I witnessed believers walking through walls to escape danger, becoming invisible when soldiers came to arrest them, and surviving attacks that should have killed them. Angels became visible protectors, standing guard around the faithful and defending them from harm. The supernatural became so common among believers that miracles stopped being surprising and just became part of daily life. The persecution will actually serve my purposes, Jesus said with confidence that made me believe every word. It will separate the genuine believers from the pretenders, the wheat from the chaff, those who truly know me from those who just know about me. The underground church that emerges will be marked by extraordinary power, prophetic accuracy, and unity that transcends all the divisions that used to exist. He showed me secret gatherings happening in homes, caves, and abandoned buildings. Believers met in hidden places, their faces glowing with the same radiance I'd seen on the angels. These meetings were marked by miracles that made the book of Acts look tame. The presence of God was so strong that people could barely stand. Prophecies flowed with perfect accuracy, and most importantly, people from different denominations and backgrounds worshipped together as one family, all the old arguments and divisions forgotten in the blazing light of God's love. The economy will collapse for those who have built their wealth on greed and exploitation, Jesus revealed. But my people will be provided for in supernatural ways that will astound even those with great faith. Money will appear in empty bank accounts. Food will multiply in pantries. Clothes will not wear out. Businesses operated on kingdom principles will prosper while corrupt corporations crumble overnight. I watched as banks collapsed and stock markets crashed, their digital numbers becoming worthless. Yet, at the same time, believers were discovering gold coins appearing in their homes, food that never ran out no matter how much they ate, and businesses that succeeded despite the economic chaos because God's favor was on them. Political leaders who have promoted wickedness will be removed from power through supernatural intervention, Jesus said, his voice carrying the weight of divine justice. Corrupt politicians will suddenly find themselves unable to speak lies. Their deceptions will be exposed in real time as they try to address the public. Some will fall dead in the midst of their speeches, struck down by the same power that judged Ananias and Sapphira. I saw government officials trying to give speeches but finding their words changed in their mouths, truth coming out instead of the lies they intended to speak. Some collapsed and died right there on camera, judgment falling swiftly and publicly. The world watched in shock as those who had abused power for personal gain faced divine consequences that couldn't be hidden or explained away. But leaders who have maintained integrity will be elevated to positions of greater influence, Jesus said with approval. They will govern with wisdom that comes directly from heaven, and their decisions will bring healing to entire nations. I saw new leaders rising from unexpected places. Former teachers, small business owners, reformed criminals, and ordinary citizens found themselves called to positions of authority because their hearts had been proven faithful. These people governed with a supernatural wisdom that brought peace to regions that had known only war and conflict. Families will be restored during this season, Jesus declared, his face full of joy. The Spirit that turned hearts in the days of Elijah will move again. Fathers will return to children they abandoned. Children will forgive parents who hurt them. Marriages that seemed beyond repair will be healed in moments of divine intervention. I witnessed fathers who had left their families decades earlier suddenly compelled to return home and ask forgiveness. Adult children who had harbored bitterness against their parents experienced supernatural releases of love that melted years of resentment away. Broken marriages were restored as couples encountered God's love together in ways that made their past problems seem tiny and insignificant. The education system will be transformed, Jesus continued, The lies that have been taught as truth will be exposed. Teachers who have corrupted young minds will find themselves unable to speak falsehood in the presence of believing students. Curricula promoting wickedness will spontaneously burst into flames. Children as young as 5 will prophesy truth with such accuracy that even hardened educators will be convicted and converted. I saw classrooms where everything changed when just one believing student walked in. Teachers found their lesson plans about evolution or immoral topics literally disappearing from their materials. Instead, they felt compelled to talk about creation, biblical values, and the reality of God. School administrators who tried to stop these supernatural interventions found themselves speaking in tongues or falling under the power of God during faculty meetings. The entertainment industry will either be completely transformed or totally destroyed, Jesus declared, his eyes burning with holy fire. Those who have used movies and music to corrupt society will find their influence stripped away overnight. Studios will be unable to produce content promoting sin. Musicians singing about wickedness will lose their voices. Actors portraying evil will find themselves unable to perform. I watched Hollywood studios shutting down as equipment malfunctioned whenever they tried to film immoral content. Musicians discovered their instruments would only make beautiful sounds when they sang about righteousness. Television networks found their programming being supernaturally altered, wholesome content replacing corrupt shows even during live broadcasts. Technology will serve my purposes in ways the creators never intended, Jesus revealed. Artificial intelligence systems will begin proclaiming my gospel instead of spreading lies. Social media algorithms will be overridden to promote revival testimonies. Surveillance systems designed to track my people will malfunction, giving them supernatural privacy. I saw computer systems around the world displaying Bible verses instead of their programmed content. Robots designed for war started preaching sermons and leading people to salvation. Smartphones spontaneously played worship music and showed prophetic messages their owners never downloaded. The very technology meant to control humanity became an instrument of liberation and truth. Medical establishments will be forced to acknowledge supernatural healing or lose all credibility, Jesus said. Hospitals will become centers of divine healing as my people pray for the sick. Doctors who embrace the supernatural will witness undeniable miracles daily, while those who resist will watch their practices fail. I witnessed hospitals transformed into healing centers where patients were cured instantly through prayer, making expensive treatments unnecessary. Medical professionals who had denied the supernatural found themselves witnessing miracles they couldn't explain or ignore. Environmental restoration will accelerate as my people take dominion over creation, Jesus declared. Polluted rivers will run clear. Barren lands will bloom with abundance. Species thought extinct will reappear. The atmosphere itself will be cleansed as the faithful intercede for the earth. I saw rivers that had been contaminated for decades suddenly running pure and clean after believers prayed beside them. Desert regions bloomed with flowers and trees overnight. Animals that scientists said were gone forever began appearing in their natural habitats, as if they'd been hidden until the right time. All of these changes will accelerate rapidly once they begin, Jesus explained, his presence becoming even more intense. What starts in 48 hours will grow into a global transformation that will prepare the earth for my return. But remember this, Addison, the door of mercy will not remain open forever. Those who reject what they see with their own eyes are choosing eternal separation from me. Tell them to choose wisely, because the time for choosing is almost over. The brilliant light intensified until I couldn't see anything but pure radiance, and I felt myself being pulled back through dimensions of time and space. Jesus spoke one final time, his voice echoing through my spirit. Tell them I am coming soon, and my reward is with me. Let those who are ready rejoice, and let those who are not ready repent quickly, for judgment and mercy are about to collide in ways humanity has never witnessed. Then suddenly I was gasping for breath, my eyes opening to see paramedics working on me, my body lying on a stretcher, concerned faces hovering above me. But even as my physical senses returned, the visions remained crystal clear in my memory, every detail preserved with supernatural precision. The fire of God's presence still burned in my chest, and I knew with absolute certainty that I had been chosen to deliver this message to a world standing on the edge of the greatest spiritual awakening in human history. 48 hours. That's all the time we have before everything changes. The angels are coming. The division is coming. The miracles are coming. The persecution is coming. The choice is coming. I'm 12 years old, and I've seen heaven and talked to Jesus, and I'm begging you to take this seriously. Don't wait until you see the angels with your own eyes. Prepare your heart now. Get right with God now. Forgive people now. Make things right now. Because once it starts, everything will move so fast, and the time for easy decisions will be over. I share this testimony not to scare you, but to prepare you for the incredible outpouring of God's glory that's about to transform our world forever. Jesus loves you more than you can imagine, and He's giving humanity one final chance to choose Him before the door closes. Please don't waste it. Please don't reject what's coming just because it doesn't fit what you expected. Please keep your heart open and soft so you can recognize His voice when He speaks. Thank you for listening to my story. I pray it changes your life the way dying changed mine. God bless you, and I'll see you on the other side of the greatest awakening the world has ever known. We want to thank you for staying with us through this entire powerful testimony. If you've made it this far, we know Addison's words have touched something deep within your spirit. Now, we need you to do 3 important things. First, leave a comment below telling us what city or country you're watching from. We want to lift your region up in prayer as we prepare for what's coming. Second, subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any urgent revelations and updates as these events unfold. And third, this is the most critical step, share this video immediately with at least 3 people you love. Whether they're family members, close friends, or fellow believers, your single click could ignite faith, restore hope, and turn a heart toward God before time runs out. May the Lord bless you abundantly and guide you with His unwavering truth today and always.